known John now for several years. We started a relationship here in the gallery when he was working on his Belzoni series. After that exhibit, we just kept in touch, and he told me that something new had come into his consciousness, and he was interested in exploring the transformation of Jesus Christ from life to death and life again. And that idea has become the series Meditations on the Holy Cross.
Throughout my production as an artist, I've been involved with abstract expression of my own personal feelings through lines, shapes, forms, colors. Rather than representing things visual, at a fairly early age, I could paint things the way they looked, and that was not a real challenge for me. A greater challenge was to paint the invisible, and through abstraction I was able to do that. The series Meditations on the Holy Cross, however, are different. They're not about me, they're not about self-expression. The subject of these paintings is the energy, that life that occurred after the death of Christ. I felt like I was acting as a conduit for these images. I don't know where a lot of them came from. I would be painting and they would just develop through the process of painting. In 2008, my wife and I lived in Glastonbury, England, the site of the first Christian church in Europe. It's a very spiritual place. We spent a lot of time on the Abbey grounds, the old Abbey, Glastonbury Abbey that had been destroyed by Henry VIII. But many of these statues are still there on the sides of the buildings. Some of those statues have been damaged, of course, by being hit by fire and cannon. Sometimes only parts of them remained. They were still there, but fragmented. And even in those fragments, there was a lot of power. When we came back that fall, I'd finished the Belzoni series. We had an exhibit at the 916 gallery of those. And I told Lynn that Libby had been suggesting to me that I should do a series on the Shroud of Turin. And I said, well, you know, there's not much you can do with that. It's pretty well so powerful itself. Anything you would do to that would sort of diminish it. Looking at that image gave me the idea that some energy created that image as Christ was transfigured, and perhaps some kind of electrical charge took place that created that image on that cloth that's not painted. And so thinking about that image, I said, let me look at the representations of the crucifixion of Christ, Rembrandt, Zubrin, El Greco. I decided that I would try to do a series based on Meditations on the Holy Cross. This series would have fragments of those historical images that would be like passages that would be just barely visible. And the viewer would see those and perhaps remember having seen those historical paintings in these new contemporary combinations. And there's a cubist element in that the cubists present more than one viewpoint of the same subject matter, because you're perceiving it not just in one moment, but in several different periods of time as the image changes. Multiple arms show that the figure is not dead, but it is capable of motion and movement. A lot of the backgrounds are very dark in these paintings, allowing what light occurs to be very brilliant. And I was working with encaustics, which is a hot wax 5,000-year-old technique. But the colors remain, the moisture doesn't affect them, the pigments stay very brilliant, and it's a very stable medium. Working with encaustics, I was able to create layers of wax that would let light go through the wax and strike the white ground, and it would hit that panel and come back through the wax and reflect. And that sense of light glowing from the interior of the painting gave a new dimension to the idea of life and energy. So I started doing those in 2008, set a goal of doing at least one a week, and by December of 2010 I had done 100 paintings. At that time I contacted my agent, Lynn O'Keefe.
When we talked this late winter, he was ready for some exhibit time, and when I realized how large the series had become, the gallery just wouldn't be the venue for all those works. And plus, I just felt like more people needed to be able to view the whole work. That being said, I didn't tell John. I went first to Father Andy Garner at St. Joseph's Church to see how receptive he would be to the idea of having art at the church. He was so enthusiastic. I went to the Presbyterian church. They also were very enthusiastic, and as a matter of fact, they house the largest body of work. The Episcopal Church also is very interested in John's work and displaying it. They created a gallery. Holy Spirit Catholic Church expressed an interest. So those are the venues, and we have encouraged people of all walks of life and all faiths to either come into the gallery or stop in one of the churches and meditate. Watch the transformation of Jesus through these paintings.
So in January of 2011, I had to go back to the studio and create another 20 paintings, so I'd have some larger paintings and also a larger quantity work. When you go into one of those churches where the paintings are and there's people there, they're gathering around them and you can feel the energy. Sometimes you go into church and there's sometimes a lack of energy. My experience in people witnessing these paintings is that they are really being moved by them in a very special way. And this is very gratifying to me as an artist.